Hi everyone, hello and welcome back to Crazy Kalyn Vlogs. I am here, we are back together, and today we are just doing a coffee with Kalyn chat. It has been a long week. I haven't done a coffee with Kalyn chat in quite a while. I am in my kitchen having some black iced coffee right now, and I very much needed it after the weeks that I have had leading up to this. So I just wanted to catch up with you guys. There's been a lot going on in our lives. Some things that I've already shared over on my Crazy Days of Kalyn channel, which is my main channel that I created well before this one. And then this is my secondary channel just to connect with you guys on a more just relaxed basis, just talking and sharing thoughts, points of view, different things in my life that I'd like to incorporate into the videos to share with you, like behind the scenes of what my everyday life looks like, the things that we do, places that we go, and what have you. This is just a relaxed channel. We just came home from doing a bunch of things to start off this week. I have a whole day's worth of work to kind of tackle with my husband, but before I went into all of that, I just feel like I needed to have some time to connect with the people that I trust, that have come from like my main channel in the big beautiful village that I have, acquired over there, that we've all grown together, and just to talk about learning some pretty serious life lessons, even in my middle age of 44 years old. Things that I thought maybe I had learned long ago after working on them so long, but very quickly realizing I still have plenty more to grow from, learn from, experience, and just do better with. So it's an honesty chat, that's for sure. There have been some things that have been, very heavily happening in my life over time. And I've always been very forthcoming about things that are going on, with health of my loved ones, my husband, my in-laws, things that have just been going on for, well over a year. And also just the march of like the happy things as well. I just like to share so much of myself in my videos, even on my main channel, as I like to tell you guys, like during hauls, things that trigger conversations or just me sharing a bit of news with you guys, even through hauling certain products and stuff. And so over here, this is just my space to connect and chat freely without the hauling attached to it. So there are some things that I have not even admitted because I have pulled back over time from talking too much about myself in a personal way because of some interactions that I was having repeatedly with a subscriber that I had grown a relationship with to some extent. And I started pulling back months ago on what I would share so openly because I just was experiencing something that was creating frustration in me. I was experiencing something that was making me feel like I was being backed into a corner. I was experiencing, just this feeling of unsurety of how I'm going to go about, stopping the interaction. And again, these are all lessons that I thought that I learned to control long before this situation increased over time. And we're still learning, we're still growing. And I do need a bit of closure to it, to be quite honest with you, because it was an extended period of time that I felt heightened feelings emotionally, in an emotional sense, also in an anger sense, in a frustrated sense, in a feeling of just absolute I wanted to put up more and more boundaries as we continue to, have correspondence with each other. So unlike myself in the lessons that I had already thought that I had previously learned, I was allowing this to continue, and I was allowing it to happen while putting up silent boundaries instead of bringing it out and just being honest about it and addressing it in a way that hopefully I could have prevented it and stopped it a long time ago, I was silently putting up boundaries. And I think it's a good conversation to have with any of us that might be in similar situations where you might meet somebody or know somebody or have somebody in your life on a consistent basis, whether it's a family member, a friend, somebody that, you've met and correspond with here and there, even if it's not on a consistent basis, that might send triggers to your nervous system where you're feeling very uneasy with them and you're not listening to your instincts and creating boundaries out loud so that you can have a safe space always, and that they know and they're knowledgeable of what they're doing to create the issue in you and how you're feeling about, interaction with them. And I did not do that. I didn't do it. And I don't even think I didn't realize to the full extent how silent I was until the situation got to be so big and was creating so much distress that it was now intricately involving itself with other people in the surrounding situation that were recognizing these things, and it kind of just blew up into something bigger. And if I had been more forthcoming and more honest about how I received the interactions that I had, I could have prevented myself a great deal of stress and a great deal of aggravation over an extended period of time. And just let them know that I didn't appreciate it. I didn't want to engage in that way. I didn't want to be swayed in my own thoughts and feelings. I just expressed myself. I had learned to be quieter as I've gotten older about my thoughts and feelings because the world was changing very quickly around me, as it is around all of us. And I didn't want to interact with people in a combative way. I didn't want to interact with people and possibly trigger them or set them off where they're already feeling heightened feelings about things that are going on in the world, things that are happening personally with them. I became so super hyper, just hyper, I'm trying to think of the word, like hyper vigilant on how to not set somebody off that might have more of an expressive way of feeling things out loud. And I didn't want to be a contributing factor to like how they received information in a way that could make them more angry, more aggravated, more stressed out, more anxiety ridden, because I'm also somebody that has anxiety herself. I mean, I very much have always been honest that I have anxiety. I was diagnosed with anxiety in my early 20s, but very soon after, in the years to come, as I was learning more about anxiety, I realized and had found out that I've been experiencing anxiety myself since I was a younger child. And I then knew what panic attacks were, how they felt, how to learn techniques to try to help myself with them and control them in so many different ways. And, it's a growing experience. So knowing somebody that also has these similar situations and feelings and ways to, get them upset and possibly trigger their anxiety, I did do everything that I could to not perpetuate that because I wouldn't want it done to me. And the person that I interacted with knew this about me as a person because I've expressed it so openly in an open platform of being on my YouTube channel. And there just wasn't that common courtesy thing where, she didn't try to induce that in me as well. So I listened. I felt probably a good 85 to 90% of the time like I wanted to say things to maybe cut off different topics of conversation that would happen, whether it was interacting in a writing sense or if it was interacting in a verbal sense. I allowed it to continue. And I'm going to take this lesson into the next phases of my life. And I think we have to be very conscious at this point of how we handle people. I think that should always be at the forefront of like how we want to go about it and put thought to it before we're just reactive and we say things like off the cuff without processing it first, trying to calm ourselves down, trying to digest the information and think in a thoughtful way about the person and how they communicate and how well you can handle yourself so that you can verbalize to them when they're saying something that is causing you a great deal of feelings. And it's just more that I have to work on. It's more that I have to work on. And I've always talked about, even on this channel, that this is something that I have been, trying to work on in myself for so long. But I also think now that I've learned this new lesson that I definitely have gone to the further extent of remaining silent instead of speaking up for myself, instead of putting myself first. I was trying to not harm or perpetuate things in the other person, and I was putting myself in a very upsetting place by not speaking my piece in a loving and kind and a communicative way where they may have been able to understand where I was coming from. They may or may not have been. Maybe I would have made them angry no matter how I expressed myself, but I didn't even try. I was silent most of our talks. When things would come up in commentary in a written way, I would glaze past the things that she would continuously repeat and try to drive her points on. I would glaze over them, not even put a response back to her that involved acknowledging certain contexts that she would put into messages. And I would just completely try to ignore it, which was not helping myself. It was just continuing this uphill climb of an issue by not addressing it in the best way possible. And I need to work on my communication skills because I have learned to be too quiet. I have learned to be too wary of others and not wary enough of myself. And I know that I have had so many times in my life where I have had too much to say, especially in my younger years. And I wanted to work on that as I was getting older too, where I didn't want to be reactive anymore without thinking about it first. I didn't want to be reactive anymore emotionally. I wanted to center myself first before responding to any bit of communication that was coming forward to me, no matter what topic it was. So that's what I had been working on for so many years, was to process it first before coming right into the conversation, like full force, like really trying to digest what people say, trying to really like understand their thought process, why they feel the way that they feel so strongly, why they are so emotional about certain topics, why they are so reactive themselves, to different viewpoints that they feel is the end all be all, and the only way to go is what they think and what they think only, and not considering others. I learned, especially like throughout my 30s, I think, to calm myself first and then respond to it in a way that was more articulate, more calm, more factual instead of just emotional. You know what I mean? So it's big lessons. It's big lessons. And like I tell you guys all the time, I never want to stop growing. I never want to stop learning new things about myself. And if I've gone too far in one direction, I need to get back to like the middle where I can talk about hard things. I can talk about hard topics, and also put myself and how I feel about those certain topics in a very factual way, like I said, instead of responding to it with heightened anxiety, heightened anger, heightened frustration, and all that stuff. I need to learn to come to the middle now. I don't want to be too reactive, and I don't want to not be reactive at all, because I have thoughts, I have feelings, I have a certain way that I feel and think. And I think that this really kind of applies to just the world overall at this time. I really think it applies to so many different scenarios that are just happening in general. We don't listen to each other. And then when we do listen to each other, we don't take into account how that other person might be feeling about how we're saying what we're talking about, and what that person might be going through on the other end of things in a personal way that, you know, might be harmed by it in some way, shape, or form. It's just a way that I wish and hope and pray that the world can at some point calm down to the point where we can all have our own viewpoints and not continuously try so hard to drive the point into the ground and try to change everyone around us that might think differently than us, that might feel differently than us, that might live differently than us. It's just, I think we've all gone too far. We're all human beings. We're all here together. We're all trying to do the best we can for ourselves, our families, our, lifetime on this side. And I really have always felt such an emotional want to heal people and to make people love one another and be more accepting of one another, no matter if we agree or don't agree. We can agree or don't agree all day long. That is our God-given right. That is our right, period, to disagree on everything, if that's what we choose to do. Everybody is coming from so many different, standpoints of how they were brought up, where they were brought up, what they learned since childhood and what raised them and how it was built into them. And we're not considerate anymore, and so many people have no manners anymore and have no moral values that they lead their days with. And it's very concerning to me, because I have always been somebody, even as a small child, that put others before myself, always. And I find myself right now right back into that position where I have allowed others to be more important than me, even though I want to be even with everybody. I want to be just as important as you, even if I'm different than you and you're different than me. I want to be even. I want to agree to disagree. I want to be able to know that somebody thinks, feels, and lives differently than me, but I can be in the same room as them. We can find something in common with each other, to be kind to each other and react to one another in a loving and just humane way of, being in the same world. I've always felt that since I was small. And sometimes my heart is bigger than my brain. And I'm really serious, because I thought so much to save this other person from the already heightened feelings and the heightened thoughts and the heightened viewpoints that they had, that they just nailed into me every interaction that we had together. The same topic. This is what I mean. This is when we go too far. And I don't know if you recognize it in yourself. If you do, if you want to work on it, that would be awesome. And if you think that it's fine, then go about your business. I'm not trying to deter anybody, but I'm just saying, like, let's look at ourselves really quick. I allowed this person to literally drive their point on one subject so many times that it became something that triggered me. It became something that literally I would read and feel emotional about and feel like, I don't know how much more of this I can take. I don't know how many more times this person can write this or say this to me before I lose it. I allowed that person to get me to that point because I didn't speak up and because I didn't say how it was making me feel. You can believe anything you want to believe in your heart, your soul, and in your mindset, but it's the way that you express it. It's how you say it to another person and how many times you say it. There is such a difference between feeling what you feel and having a conversation about it. That's a back and forth. Than saying it. The person, you can instantly tell, is not receiving your message. But every time you talk to that person, you're going to continue to drive that point. You're going to continue to say it so much, you're going to get a reaction from that person if they're not a person that thinks before they speak. And then it's going to become a bigger issue. Every interaction that I've had with this particular person has been hard driving viewpoints. And because I feel so upset with myself and how I have handled this entire situation, which brought me so much more grief and so much more stress that I didn't need. And I will tell you more about that at the end of why I didn't need this extra stress over probably, it's been well over a year. Okay, but in the last 6 or more months where things personally have been happening to myself, to my family in a very emotionally charged way, in difficulties and also in blessings, receiving this person's message, the same one that kept going on a loop, that just kept going on a loop, on a circle of repeating the same things that I wasn't receiving, and them knowing that I wasn't receiving it because I wasn't responding to it. It was heightening all the other things that were going on in my life. It was heightening all of the other stresses that I was dealing with, the sadnesses that I was dealing with, the focus on the blessings that were also happening in my life. And it also made me pull back who I was and who I wanted to be on my platform of YouTube between my main channel and here. It also made me retract who I was and who I came here to be. You can like me, not like me. You can watch me, not watch me. You all have that choice to click that button and watch. And if you're somebody that disagrees with me or doesn't relate to me at all, you have the privilege of not clicking on my videos, of not listening to what I have to say, of not having to engage with me ever. But if you continuously make that choice to continue pressing the button and playing it, you're looking for trouble. You're looking to cause a problem. You're looking to start something that when somebody else finishes it, it's going to make you spiral into absolute chaos. It's a choice that I make every single day to engage or not engage with people. I'm triggered all day long, not even just by this person. People that I just see out in the world, people's behaviors, people's things that they, choose to act like and to bring into other people's lives in a harmful and, tricky way of, how you relate to somebody is so important, not only to yourself, but to that person that you're involving yourself with. And everything that was stirring up like more and more and more over these last 6 months because I wasn't giving her what she was looking for. I wasn't responding the way that she wanted me to respond to. I wasn't giving in to her viewpoints, what she wanted to see from me, what she wanted to hear from me. She just kept going at me. And it became a trigger for me. I've stopped reading anything related to anything she was writing months ago. I had to get a mono reader because just that one person had caused me so much grief internally that I didn't express outwardly. It was making everything else more difficult in my life. And I'm, like I said, so disappointed in myself. And this is the start of the new week. And I want closure for myself. And I want to learn my lessons. At this point, this person can watch this, not watch this, find a way to watch this and take from it what they want, blame me for everything under the sun, whatever the case may be. That's fine. I have blamed myself. I take blame myself. And I will work on that. So this is the lesson, for me to grow with even further in my life. My life has not been simple. I've said that openly and outwardly in so many different ways. And, none of our lives have. We all have things that are challenging for us. We just have to be able to consider that other people have some pretty tough things that they're dealing with too, or stresses that they're dealing with too, that they don't need more heightened stress unloaded upon them to create a heightened sense of anxiety, stress, and grief inside of them. So because this is a new week and I want to have closure for myself and myself only, not even directing this at anybody at all, but just in case you're somebody that can relate to any of these topics that came up in my interaction with this person without specifically calling them out, which I didn't even do when I had the issues on my main channel over, this weekend and had to address them. I have been getting things filtered to me over several months through my moderator for my channel because this one person, I just got no benefits from reading or thinking about this person in a way that was helping me get through all the things that we've been trying to process. So these are the topics that we've continued to have disagreements on, but it came from me silently. It didn't come from me verbally, and I didn't handle it well as a human being. So this is what it was. I'm going to start from the beginning. And I'm telling you, this person doesn't know anything, I don't think, that I felt on any of these topics because I was too quiet. So when I first started corresponding with her, it was through a message on the comment section. I knew who she was instantly because of other involvement in other channels and things like that. And I thought to myself, hopefully I can have a nice interaction with this person. But because I didn't want to go on others' experience with her, I went about it in a welcoming way. The first comment I responded to, and then she responded back to me that she took what I said as rude. I could not for the life of me see that I said anything rude to a question that she included in her comment. So I responded back to her for the second time and said, I didn't mean anything by that. I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful day. However I said it. We're talking about well over a year ago. She was already, my initial interaction with her, trying to bait me into some form of an issue. So I thought to myself, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. And very shortly after, those other people that had interactions with her that were challenging had noticed she was in my comment section and started to verbalize to me that you're going to have an issue. And I said, I would really like to try to handle this in a different way. And I hope that, it doesn't get to that extent for me as you had with this person yourself. I wanted to give it a chance. I wanted to give it a chance to understand this person. So, unfortunately for me, I do have notes. Right after that interaction where I backed this person down by saying, I didn't mean anything, wrong about my comment back to you. She asked me to call her. In a friendly sense. And I thought to myself, not listening to your instincts is another really big issue. Not listening to your instincts. I already had instincts that I could be putting myself in a position of difficulty if I went ahead and went this route with corresponding in a way that was outside of the platform of a public forum. But because I had been asked repeatedly, why haven't you called me yet? I was expecting a call. Thought you would have called me by now. I felt bad, and I wanted to be able to call this person and just ease, whatever anxiety I was creating in them. And I put myself second to what their feelings were. While on the phone, I got all the information that, she has continued to perpetuate over time and continuing to tell me that videos that she had watched, this triggers her, that triggers her, the holidays that I like to celebrate, which has been a continued statement driven into almost every single comment that she can put in the public platform of the comment section on the videos. She just wanted to continue to write her thoughts, her feelings, her viewpoints as I was not responding to them every single time. She was just going to continue to drive the point that during this certain time of year, during the fall, during the October month, that this was behavior that she saw to be evil. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. That's her viewpoint. I'm fine with that. Absolutely fine with that. I know people that celebrate the month of October in a holiday sense, including myself. And yes, I love God. And I know people that stay away from it. That's fine. We're all different. I come from an area of the country that every single religion around me, a good percentage of them, we all interact with the month of October and all the ways of it to be celebrated. And that was just a difference that we had. And over a year of commenting with anything October holiday related, it's evil. It's this, it's that, it's the other thing, continuing to drive her points. I am not responding to any of these, so she knows, she has to know, she's a very intelligent woman. She has to know that this is creating an issue, or she's trying to at least. So I have heard this driven into my mindset so many times that I was unable to read it any longer because I knew that she was trying to sway me from how I felt, how I acted. Now, the other thing is talking about religion. It's not my thing. It's not the way that I was raised. It's not who I was built to be. I was built to be somebody that just loved everyone, accepted everyone for whatever religion that they were in. I love God. And I go about facilitating my relationship with him personally, privately, and quietly for myself. I do speak about him, but I don't do it in a sense that I feel like I want to make everybody agree with me and my belief system. I don't do it in a hostile sense to create issues in anybody else that may not have the same faith as me. We're a melting pot of so many cultures, so many religions. And in my particular family, I was raised to love everyone and to have your relationship privately and quietly. And that is just the way that I was raised. And to speak of the love of your faith, but without making somebody else feel less than if they don't agree with you. That's just the way that I felt. And that I took things in from my own moral standpoint. But as soon as this person, within the first few things that we corresponded as. She heard something early on in the interaction well over a year ago and realized I wasn't the same faith as her. And she started an issue. She started an issue with me verbally. She wanted to make sure that I knew that she shouldn't be supporting me. She shouldn't be talking to me. She was taught that the company that you keep reflects on you. And she found out that I wasn't her specific faith, that she just automatically assumed I was. Now, I've never said what faith I go under. I just said the love of God. Many, many different faiths love God. Nobody knows exactly where I stand because it's personal to myself. So as soon as she got some type of a correspondence from me sharing things in my videos over time and realized that I wasn't her specific faith, she took issue with that. And she wanted to make sure that I knew that she shouldn't be in the same situations as me. She shouldn't be supporting me. She shouldn't be talking to me because now that she's been supporting and talking to me, it could reflect badly upon her. That's a red flag to me in my heart and in my faith system, because what I know, God loves everyone. God wants the best for us, and he also wants us to want the best for others. So I've never judged not a one person. I've been around so many different faith systems, belief systems, and every other system that I have gone to so many different style churches throughout my childhood, my teenage years, and even through my earlier adulthood, trying to find, where all of the people that I was surrounded with that came from all these different walks of life, all these different cultures, where their mindset was, where their faith came from. And I've literally done my due diligence and kind of just involve myself in everything so that I could understand others, the people around me that I cared and loved, and the people that were invested in my life. And I love them for who they are as people, even though we differ in so many different ways. So on that, we did not agree. We have to be very careful of what we assume of others. We have to be very careful of what we're assuming in any topic. You can't assume. You want to know somebody, get involved, understand their thought process and where they were built from. That's just my 2 cents on it. It doesn't have to be anybody else's. But that became a big issue and a discussion that she wanted to have with me in a very angry sense very early on, and in an emotional sense. And my 2 cents at that particular time of barely even having had many interactions with this person was, I understand. I don't know why you assumed that I was. I've never clearly stated that I was. But I understand that that's how you were raised. And if you have to go about your business and move on and not support me and not watch me and not be a part of my world in this sense, or even have dialogue with one another, I respect you for that. It had to be a whole conversation about it. She was just absolutely irate that she found this out about me. And I don't come from that same heart. I just don't. And that's okay. That is okay. We have to try to open our eyes, ears, thoughts, feelings. And this could cross the board with anything. Like I said, I was taught to kind of keep my things close to me. I was born and raised in the early 80s. And these are just things that my family said to me. Love others, and your personal feelings, thoughts, and stuff on controversial issues, you keep to you because they're personal to you. And that's just the way that I've chosen to go about my life. So she had big opinions on my relationship with my mother over time as she was triggered to feel different things for reasons that are of her own. My mother is almost a 65-year-old woman that is very headstrong, as am I, and also has her own thoughts, her own feelings, her own choices. and she would see different things or hear different things on my platforms and take issue with them because she felt like my mother wasn't choosing her own choosings. So it became very personal at that point, and she wanted to drive the point into the ground. That, oh, I would never treat my mother like that. I would never do this, that, the other thing. Nobody's done anything. Your assumptions are what is heightening your awareness to something that isn't even happening. We have to be conscious of these things because you're perpetuating your own scenarios onto somebody else's life. I just don't think it's a healthy way to go. But that, again, is my own thought process. And she insinuated, assumed, and had big opinions on interactions that I would have with my mother. So I've stopped putting my mother intentionally in my videos, even on the sidelines, because my mother said, I really want you to stop talking to this person. That would hear me have correspondence with her, also read publicly things that she would just on a loop repeatedly say. And my mother asked me well over a year ago, when she heard an initial conversation with her, she asked me who this was, why I was speaking to this person, and that I needed to stop the interaction, in her opinion. But because I am my own adult person, I chose to go forward and try to understand what the differences were between the two of us. And it could go further past this point. My mother, so many times we would be out having a nice day. I'd put a vlog together, and even over the summer when my mother made a choice to come and enjoy some summer activities with me, it has become an issue that has stuck in their emotional reactiveness and has been perpetuated not only onto myself, but now I guess onto my mother as well in the comment section, which has been, deleted and blocked. And my mother said, you're an adult, you're going to do what you want, but I'm telling you, enough is enough. So my mom is still my mom, and she's been very concerned for quite a while. And I actually didn't even listen to my mother because I am my own person. So this is where I'm going with this. We have to be strong in our own convictions. We have to be strong in our own thoughts, feelings, and we have to be true to who we are as people, but with respecting other people's differences in their life and where they came from. And this person just wasn't capable of doing so. And I have to say that there are so many other very specific topics that are quite alarming, that have just continuously been driven so difficultly into almost every interaction that I've had, that it has now become something that I'm heightened awareness to, that I will pay attention to with further interaction with just anybody in the world. And it has taught me one of the best lessons of my adult life, I have to say. So at church today, I do have to say that the message was about, and I loved it. It's so funny how sometimes you go to church and that message is just like right there, ready for you. It's ready for you and waiting for you. And the message was that you don't, your trials in your life don't happen to you. They happen for you. They happen for you. I have never one time ever learned a hard lesson without a benefit from it. And that's pretty intense for me to say, because yes, I have been through some things. I have. Which brings up one more point. She doesn't realize, I don't think, that the things that she said were so condemning and damaging, and they were coming, at such a heightened viewpoint pushed onto me, that she even told me several months ago that she was discussing this with her family member, that she believes my life is cursed. She believes my life is cursed because of where I live in New England, and I'm close to Salem, Massachusetts. She verbally just came out with it. She had been wanting me to call her for some time. She would get upset when I wouldn't place phone calls to her, even when I was busy, even when I was going through devastating things in my own personal life. She would continue to tell me how upset she was that I didn't call her during this occasion or that occasion, or when she wanted, me to respond to her, things that she'd think and say and let me know about, and I wasn't giving her what she was looking for. One of the first things she said to me, to kind of just like come at me, was that she thought I was cursed. She thought I was cursed. And what an assumption that must be for somebody to say that to another human being. I would never, ever, you think it if that's what you feel. But to say that to another person, that's pretty damaging behavior. So I'm telling you that trials don't happen to you. And that message hit me so hard today. It almost knocked me right off the pew. Trials don't happen to you. And I've had so many trials. And I will continue to have trials. But what I've taken from them have been lessons, have been growth, and have been something that has led me to a better place in my life. And so I encourage all of you without continuing to go through that list, because I've had the closure that I need. And I can't believe how long this Coffee with Kalyn Chat is going, but I feel so strongly, especially coming from church, at the message today. And I really do challenge you guys to not look at your trials as these things are happening to me. You know that they're happening for you, even if they're the most difficult thing you've ever been through. And I've been through some troublesome things. I've been through some seriously troublesome things. But you know what? My life has eventually worked out the trials and brought me to a place that I was then there meant to be at this stage or that chapter. And I have continued to progress that way. So for that, I feel blessed and I feel thankful for even the most difficult things. Now, last but certainly not least, this is the last thing that I am going to say, that when you're interacting with another person, as I have said time and again during this video, you don't know what they're dealing with on the back end of their personal life and their own intimate moments with themselves or with their families. We have to be very conscious and careful of how we are contributing to any conversation on any topic, in my own personal thoughts and feelings, in my own beliefs. No, I'm just suggesting it at this point, is that we are knowledgeable about who we are interacting with before we force ourselves upon them and how we feel. And know that that person could very well be going through something right now where they can't process what we're saying. And I have not even announced it because, like I said, I have retracted and I have changed the way that I go about my videos in the last few months because of my interactions with this person. I have pulled back. I have held on to information where I would come to you guys almost first with it after I went to God and my own personal life and family. I would tell you guys when it was a good day, when it was a bad day, when something was very difficultly happening in my life. I would tell you so much. We lost my mother-in-law, and I know you guys probably know that. And if you're not new to the channel, this definitely wasn't the first video that I suggest you watching. I'm sorry, I'm saying this at the end instead of the beginning. This is my channel to be me, to be who I am, to say what I want to say, to feel how I want to feel. And that is the other blessing of having a channel of your own. You are putting yourself into it, what you want to share with the world, and you have a choice to be here or not to be here. And if you want to be here, then you have to know that you're consciously making that decision, to continue putting yourself into a frame where somebody might be different than you. So I lost my mother-in-law this year. It was a hard loss. My mother-in-law was stellar. She really was an awesome person. I learned even more about my mother-in-law, even though I've been with my husband for 16 years. I learned even more about my mother-in-law and who she was to the core of her soul in the last year and a half before she transitioned to go to heaven. And I found out so many beautiful details to that woman that I had no idea about in so many different ways. And she lived a life of just love, positivity, happiness, and just absolute beauty. And I wanted to make sure that I was there for her during this last trial of her existence on this side. And I made sure that I was a helping hand emotionally, a helping hand, in her process of, her terminal illness, being there with her, helping her, and emotionally putting a lot on myself to carry it for her. And we lost her. We lost her at the end of July. And I am just going to continue living my life in honor and in love of her. Her and I had very many, so many qualities that were so similar with each other that we grew to know even more about at the end stages of her life. And in death, it's such a hard thing to experience, but it's a part of life. And I'm glad I was there for the whole journey. I am so honored to have been there for the whole entire journey. And all she wanted was for us to be happy. She wanted us to be happy. She wanted us to honor her in a happy and loving and jovial way. And we did that. We definitely did that with the celebration of life and all the things that we believe in doing to honor, our loved ones' lives that have gone on to heaven. But what everybody didn't know, and I've never said because I didn't want to say anything further, is that in the last month, I've also lost my sister-in-law. My husband's sister passed away. My husband's sister passed away at 43 years old. And it was an unexpected passing. My family has gone through so much. I have watched my beautiful husband and my wonderful father-in-law, as well as his siblings that are still here with us and other extended family on both of our sides, absolutely be devastated. So I was not able to express that because this person had put words out there that said quite a few months ago that she believes that my life is cursed. And she stopped me from expressing myself, which I could have used my family and my big, beautiful village to pray for us, to help us through this difficult time of a sudden loss right after losing somebody that was so intricately important to this world, not only to our family. She exuded love, positivity, and just blessings. And she was a beautiful, wonderful Roman Catholic woman that loved every holiday there was to love. She was absolutely the light in every single room. She loved her family, and we're all different. Everybody's coming from different thought processes and everything else all the way around her. And I never heard one negative thing come out of her mouth. I watched her love everybody and gather us up and accept us and pray for us and be there for us and be part of us in every beneficial way that she could. And her and I were extremely close. And one of her wishes before she went on to heaven was that we helped keep the family glued together in her honor. Sometimes when you lose a matriarch of the family starts to move, in different directions because the pain of losing that person is so deep and so intricate to everybody and their position that they had in this person's life that is now lost. And one of her wishes before she went on to heaven was for all of us to keep close to one another, accept one another, love one another, be there for one another, and celebrate every holiday to the highest magnitude that you could possibly celebrate it. We are very holiday-oriented people over here in New England area, in my region anyhow, in New England. And, you know, a lot of what I do is in honor of her, as well as what I love to do for myself and my family too. And it was only a little bit over a month that we got an absolutely devastating phone call. And my sister-in-law passed away unexpectedly. So 43 years old, she is with her mom in the most beautiful heaven. That's my belief, and that's where my belief system remains. And I know that they're there together. But while all of this other turmoil was continuing to swirl around because everybody just continues to think about themselves, their thoughts, their feelings, their viewpoints, their constant need to be validated, their constant need to be right fighters. This was happening in the background. We've had another loss. We've been dealing with heightened emotional states in the whole entire family, and including in my own household, because of this devastating and sudden loss. We've also been planning and preparing another celebration of life for this beautiful human being that followed her mother's faith. And this is what we have to be conscious about. And it makes me so sad that I gave so much of myself and put myself in the back row of who I was and what I needed to try to keep somebody else calm, feeling validated, feeling heard. And I left myself out. And it created something where I was already feeling so sad. It created something so terrible inside of me. So it made it even more difficult to be there for myself, to be there for my family, and to be here, to be like my mother-in-law, and keep everybody together and keep everybody, in a positive mindset as we're dealing with some pretty heavy stuff. So I'm done changing myself. I'm done not speaking up. I will always do it in the kindest way possible. I will always do it with the thought for the other person's well-being and how they are and how they feel and think and view things. And like I said, this can be applied to so many heavy things in this world right now. I always have appreciated, absolutely wholeheartedly appreciated, that we connect with each other in every sense, whether it's difficulties or the happiest moments in our lives. And I'm done not sharing, because that has been what I have done since I started my YouTube platforms. I'm going to share everything as I normally would. I'm going to share it on the bad days. I'm going to share it on the good days. I'm going to share it here. I'm going to share it there. And I'm going to share it with the people that are here for good reasons and to connect with another person in this world. And I'd like that to be me. If you'd like that to be me, I invite you to stay. I invite you to check out my main channel. I invite you to be a part of my life, whether I'm hauling or I'm just sitting at the kitchen table chatting with you guys. But I am not going forward with anybody that wants to speak negativity, wants to speak harshly and forcefully with their viewpoints repeatedly. I don't mind your viewpoint, but it's when you carry it too far because you aren't getting the reaction that you're looking for to sway the person, and then you just want to keep driving your point. I will listen to all viewpoints across the board in my personal life and in my social life. But as we disagree, we have to respect each other's disagreement and move on from it and not continue to drive things into the ground. That's where I will draw the line, and that's where I will stop the interaction, and that is where I will move forward and wish you the best. So that's all. We did not go over the list, and I did write it down because my husband, me, and my mother have had conversations about what they've just heard and been concerned about because they were worried about me, over this experience throughout over a year. And I wanted to hear them out too because it created anxiety in them. It created a feeling of nervousness in them on my behalf. And I'm sorry that I put them through that too. So I love you guys so much. I love you guys so much. And this is the end of that chapter. I'm happy that I was able to express it. If you watched this video, I would really just thank you so much for watching it. Thank you so much for watching it. We're just having a real hard discussion, because I know some people here might not even want to hear this message, and that's okay because you have the opportunity to go and find another channel. There are so many places on a platform like this that you can go and engage with something that is for you, something that connects to you, something that benefits you in some way. And I love YouTube for that. I mean, you could put whatever you want in the search bar and be there in an instant and engage with it and be a part of it. And I think it's a great social experience, to have, some type of a social media platform because you're seeing so many different things that we don't just see regularly in our everyday lives and our everyday interactions and correspondence and stuff. So I invite you, if I'm not for you, my 2 channels are not for you, I invite you to go anywhere and everywhere that makes you the happiest, makes you, connect. And I wish the best for you always, absolutely forever and always. And I love you all. And I appreciate you and I'm grateful for you. And I'm going to become more present when I have the time frames to do so because we have so many things happening right now. I am going to connect more in those moments that I create. And my hauls are going to be back, involving myself personally. And over here, we're going to do more coffee with Kalyn chats now that it's a little cooler, a little cozier, and there's more home and downtime. And we're just going to do it. We're going to do all the things. And if anybody has any thoughts, feelings, comments, I am willing to hear all of them across the board. It's when you want to continue to drive them, if I'm not receiving them in the way that you want me to, that is when the interaction will stop. So I think you guys are wonderful. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic part of your week. Hauls are already pre-recorded for my main channel of Crazy Days of Kalyn. So those were already ready for you guys as of yesterday. Happy Monday Dollar Tree haul is going to be posted over there bright and early in the morning like it usually is. And I appreciate every single one of you for who you are as people. And I hope that you have the best lives possible. I love you guys so much. Love you, love you, love you. Bye, everyone.